going to try a little something different here today. I got up really early this morning, came in here and recorded the conversation for the live today with my friends in Kenya because it wasn't going to work late in the day. Obviously, it's like the middle of the night right now over there. And I did all the editing and got it all ready to go. And some of the pictures are sideways and I can't figure out how to fix them. Then the company can't figure out how to tell me to fix them that I use for streaming. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I am going to play the video from this morning here and see how this works. So this is a total experiment today. I hope you'll bear with me. And also, I'm kind of looking at the screen and looking up at the camera. I got a new webcam. I love the camera, but I'm having a little trouble with the eye level thing. So I'm going to work that out too. But yeah, let's see how this goes. And if it doesn't go, it doesn't go. And you can always find it on YouTube. And I will post it later to Facebook if this doesn't work out. So hang in there and see what there is to see and listen to Filip and Ida Andersson from Kinondo Kwetu. It's a fabulous, fabulous place. Welcome. So I am glad to see you today and another episode of the Cline and Company Insider happening. I have a very exciting guest today that I can't wait to introduce to you. Before I do, though, I want to remind you to become a Cline and Company Insider. Simply go to my website that is scrolling across the bottom of the screen there and fill in your name and email address, and you will get some great information on a weekly basis and would love to see you there. You'll also get a few extra bonuses too, so be sure to do that. And today, my guests are Ida and Filip Andersson of Kinondo Kwetu, which is in Kenya on the coast. And I'm going to bring them here on the screen now. Good morning. Hi.
Hi. Good afternoon.
Yeah. Good afternoon for you. Good morning for me. But when everybody else sees this, it'll be good afternoon. So that's appropriate. Yeah. So thank you for being with me today. As I said, I was there at the end of January. Unfortunately, we didn't get to meet in person at the time because you were in Sweden, which is your second home. You consider Kinondo Kwetu your first home, right?
Well, it's where our kids grew up when they're born, and so it's definitely our family.
Yeah, that's great. Well, it's a beautiful, beautiful home. And why don't you give us a little history on it? What I'm going to do is I'm going to go away from the screen here. I'm going to make the pictures big, and you all will still be on the screen, but obviously you'll still be able to hear me. And as I'm doing that, just give us some history on how you all found this place, how you got there, and a little bit about it.
Should I start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, we lived here since 2005, and before then, Filip's family, who's related to the Blixen family, if you've seen the movie Out of Africa.
Yes.
Amazing movie. We had it actually on a big screen outdoors the other night and watching it with guests under the stars. So that's nice thing. But so in Filip's family, there's long relationships with Kenya. But this place, who belonged to an old family friend of Filip's mother, since she came down to Kenya in the 70s, Filip's mom bought it from her around 2004. Thinking to stay and be here a lot with her husband, but that didn't happen. Lots of things changed, and we ended up coming here in 2005, and there wasn't really any small boutique hotels on the coast. You had many beautiful little places up on safari, but coming down to the coast, you had kind of charter hotels much further up, or people will go to Zanzibar, Mozambique, and leave Kenya. So we really saw a gap in the market, and we had this beautiful beach plot and lots of plots next to it was for sale. So we ended up gathering 6 plots all together, and slowly Kinondo was built. In 2008 is kind of from 2008. It's more or less how it is today. We had, tennis up, we had stables, all the houses were ready. It's still small. I mean, it's a big space, I would say, but it's small in number of guests we take. It's I think we're going to look at some rooms and things, but we take about 50 or so people when we're maxing up.
Okay, yeah, well, it's wonderful because there is a lot of space. You feel very alone, but there is nice accommodation, which we will talk about, like you said, in a bit. But this in the distance here, so this is your view when you're looking out on the Indian Ocean, which is unbelievable, and that is you having a little morning paddleboard, right, Ida?
I know. I just saw myself up. So that's beautiful. Usually the ocean is really still in the morning, so it's great for paddling. We have a reef outside, so you paddle out to the reef where you could do a bit of wave surfing, and then in the afternoon usually it's more windy, so more kite surfing or more kind of pumping winds.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yes. We always have the sunrise. So
it's gorgeous.
Most of our guests, I mean, very unusual for a lot of places where people go on holiday, but most of our guests are already up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Because everybody wants to take part of the the pattern of light and dark here in Kenya very, very fast and easily.
Exactly. So here we've got you've got some individual cottages, and tell us a little bit about that, because here's a picture of one looking out onto the adults pool, correct?
Yeah, so there's 2 pools. This little one we call the quiet pool, just so there's a space where it's peaceful and quiet, and then there's a bigger one which is for more playtime if you wish. But this little cottage is a double bedroom with a bathroom and this veranda which is overlooking the beach and the ocean. And there's a few of those. There's 3 of those just doubles, and then there's a version which is bigger, which is family cottages where you can be kind of up to a family of 6 or a family of 4 or 3, depending on how many you are. But this particular one, we have one guest who, since we opened, have come every year, and she won't come if this cottage is not available. Then she'll redo her dates to book. So
that's great. That's great. Yeah. That's wonderful. So, and then you've got a house that people can rent.
This particular one, we have one guest who, since we opened, have come every year, and she won't come if this cottage is not available. Then she'll redo her dates to book. So
that's great. That's great. Yeah. That's wonderful. So, and then you've got a house that people can rent. So if you want to have your family all in one house, you've got this option as well.
Yeah. This is a lovely, we call it Alex's house because a friend of us was part of building it. So it's a 4-bedroom house. It has a small little kitchen, a living room, and this veranda, which is also, you have the ocean straight in front of it. So great if you want a bit more privacy, if you're a big family.
That happens.
Also working. But I love this house. It's really nice. It's really a nice space.
It's great to have that. It's great to have that option, and you have so many of them. So, okay, so we're going to move on now to the food, which is just fabulous. Every meal is delicious and perfect, and this is a really fun place to have a meal. So tell us, this boat used to be, or I guess maybe not just a boat, and we should call it.
This is quite a traditional Arabic dhow, which is the type of boats that used to sail between Pemba, Zanzibar, and Kenya, and even up to the Middle East on the so-called trade winds. And that's where the word trade winds come from, because the way they sail, they can only sail basically with the wind and not, again, they couldn't tack. So this is very traditional boats. A lot of them you found in Lamu and Zanzibar. And we had it for a while, and it was a lot of work to keep a wooden boat afloat. So when we felt that this little boat had to retire, we didn't know what to do with it. So we brought it ashore and we turned it into a little sort of seating place where you can either lie or eat lunch and so on, overlooking the ocean.
You're sitting.
That was both one of the best meals I've ever had from a gustatory standpoint and from a view. It was absolutely fabulous.
And the guests fight to sit in that boat.
Yeah, it will have even, you could think maybe kids be like, oh, I want to eat in a boat, but there'll be adult, like honeymoon couple who really are keen, like we want to sit in the boat tomorrow, and if we make it wrong and put somebody else there, it can be sensitive.
Yeah. Well, I guess we were lucky because we showed up early that day, so we got the boat. And then, so this I took sitting at breakfast. I wanted to highlight a little bit about how wonderful the food is to begin with, how fresh it is. Your chefs are fantastic, and how, we'll talk about that first, and then I'll go on to the next thing.
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah, we have, there's 4 head chefs in the kitchen, and with food, obviously, it's a big part of your holiday when you go. With food, obviously, it's a big part of your holiday when you go. On our menus, we really focused on what we can source locally. It's obviously a lot of fish, a lot of seafood, but also what fruits are there, what herbs can we get locally. So to just import the bare minimum. We have ketchup around for kids, but that's about
Yeah.
it.
I love it.
I mean, you can. If you had mango here or avocado, everything that we get locally, you can't compare it to eating it. I think somewhere where you import it, it's extremely, extremely good.
Yes.
Yeah, and also it's a hot climate, so you really want to keep the menu to something that suits the climate. So you don't want heavy food; you want light and very fresh food, because you're not so hungry in this heat as you are in a cold climate. In a cold climate, you want dark, heavy meat and so on. So try to adapt the menu to this sort of climate.
Yes. No, I think that the food was, we were very happy after being on safari for almost 3 weeks to come and have fish and some lighter fare, like you say. I mean, not that the food wasn't good, but I was ready for a change. Okay, so tell us about the water tower and what this experience is like.
Well, first of all, I can tell you, there's not a lot of infrastructure that is provided by the government when you live a little bit off sort of the beaten track. So you have to build your own infrastructure, and one of those things is like water system, and then water towers are very common. So you can rely on natural pressure from the water, since there's often power cuts in Kenya, and so that's why you build water towers. And then we decided, if we're going to build a water tower, why not use that tower to create towers? And then we decided, if we're going to build a water tower, why not use that tower to create another floor there we could have a view both over the ocean and over the hills and our basically property.
So basically, how many meters are you up when you're there on the top?
Could be maybe just above the tree line. What could that be? And I don't know in feet, but maybe.
But you're there on the top,
feet,
and it's a beautiful, just 360 degrees. So what you see behind you is that you see the Shimba Hills.
Yes.
Which is the contour with hills on the back, and to the front, on the other side, you'll see the ocean. So you get the sunset when you're up there, which the sun goes down by the mountains. So go up there to have a drink at just sunset is magic. When you look at one side, it's like being on a safari. And when you look at the other side, it's like being on the beach.
And I can attest to that, because we were fortunate enough to get to have our sundowners up there one night, and it was wonderful. Okay, so and you have a wellness aspect, which is so important. So you can have yoga classes, you've got, or your own practice, you've got a gym available, as well as massages available. So
yeah, great. Yeah. Especially after that safari, that you get to, stretch out and do a bit bit of activity, but the yoga platform is great and beautiful. It's over the Indian Ocean, and you sit there in the shade. You'll hear the birds beeping. You'll hear some monkeys walking on the roof. And we work with the Yoga Africa project, which is a great project teaching amazing yoga. So yeah, if you're a yogi, you'll enjoy the yoga here for sure.
Great. All right, and great. All right, and the decor. So I was absolutely smitten with everything. The whole place is just so unique and beautiful. And you were telling me that most of this was actually made on site, which is, or not on site, but with a lot of your carpenters and locally. So tell us a bit about the decor. And I'm going to go through a few pictures while you're talking.
Yeah, I mean, fabrics and things, you'll see there's a long running mat there on the ground. All of fabrics are sourced around in different markets and all around Kenya. And then wooden furniture and so is mainly done in our workshop at Kinondo. And lamps and all of that, you can't really go to a shop and get anything ready. Everything you go with your measurements and your drawings and you make it, which is, that's amazing in the charm, and also the big frustration when you need a lot of.
Well, it makes it personalized. It makes it unique.
And unique, but all those beaded chairs. We have a friend who's gone around to Malawi and different countries, and he'll come with his truck and he'll show what he, managed to pick up, and we'll buy a bit for him. So those chairs are from him, and that little desk we've made on site, and it's a whole mix collective of things.
Yeah. And this art, I just love this piece of art.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
But also, I mean, we are in a climate here where you could be, for instance, in Brazil or Mexico. So for us, it's important to show people that you actually are in Africa.
Yes.
So we try to.
Everything is sourced within Kenya or Africa. That's the goal of the interior, and to support locally, craftsmen that are around us.
Of course, yes. And I could have taken pictures for a week of all the pieces of furniture, the beadwork, the everything. And then every bed, of course, has the mosquito nets on it, and the curtains, everything's open air during the day, but you have air conditioning at night, which is unique, is different too.
Some people choose to keep the doors open, just put down the net and sleep like that in the night. And some people obviously want to close in and do full AC and so on. It's whatever you choose to do. But this is a bedroom that actually is a family room. This is the double bed that goes to the ocean side, and then it open up doors to the back, and you'll have a triple. So if you're a family with kids, you have them on one room that's connecting towards the garden side.
And for a look of that from the outside, so if you look at these doors that are facing out, that would have been one of those bedrooms there, and then there would be another one on the back side that would be facing the family, the bigger pool. So you can make, like you said, you can make it into a suite for a family, or you can make it into a single bedroom for somebody. And tell us about the name of this building. You call it.
Well, my Mamata, you mean?
Yes.
It's interesting because when we arrived initially, my Tina, my mother's friend, wanted to sort of, because we were a lot with the local community here, and the elders especially were not so good at English, and pronouncing Swedish names were not easy. So my mother's name is Louise, and if you find something similar in Swedish, you would have ljus, which would mean light. So my mom's friend told the village elders that she was Mamata, which means mother light.
Oh, that's great.
So when we built it, we named the house after my mom, basically, Mamata.
That's great. And the one thing I'll point out while we're looking at this, so you can see that upper porch, there's a downstairs and an upstairs patio or porch. One night we had dinner downstairs, one night we had dinner upstairs, and one night we had dinner out. If you're looking at the picture, it would be off to the right in the sandy spot there, right over the ocean. And you all move where the meals happen all the time. Excuse me. which is, oh, I'm going to go back from this picture for a minute. Sorry, not yet. So you move where the meals happen, which I thought was really fun and unique. Like breakfast is in the same place, but lunch would be someplace different. Dinner would be someplace different. It's just kind of made it a lot of fun.
But that's born out of what we do in our family traditions in the summer house, where you know, sometimes depending on where the sun is or where the wind is, you move around and have lunch out there or there. And when we didn't, since we can be full in all the family rooms and be, you know, one room can have 2 people, but sometimes there's 6 people if they're a family. We didn't want to have a restaurant with lots of empty tables standing out. So we just said, okay, it's going to be a table for the people who's actually here eating. So depending on who we are and how many we are and which kind of groups, you know, if there's kids, we might set them together. If it's couples, more together where it's more quiet. We move it all around to make it feel always special.
It's basically a dark restaurant. There is no set place for restaurant except for when we do breakfast. Yeah. We carry out the tables and we remove the tables and we bring the number of tables for the guests that are there. And it's, you know, just to get a personal feel to it, and it's just to make it more interesting, because it's such a nice property, and you want to be you really just enjoy the property actually when you're sitting and having a meal.
That's true.
Especially when you have time to sit down and look around.
Absolutely. So one of the highlights of this property is this giant baobab tree, and so I only had my picture taken in front of it because I wanted to illustrate just how big it is. It is massive.
That's probably a fairly young one, like a few hundred years old. Like if you would have looked a little bit to your right there, you would have found one which is hollow, which is probably over 1,000 years. So that's a holy tree. It's extremely moist, so you can basically burn down a forest, and these type of trees will still be there because they're so basically moist inside. And they are a holy feature to a lot of people here in East Africa. So the traditional, you used to bury your important people around these trees. So, and they're called the baobabs. And there's, they're just magical.
I'm sure you can buy in the US the fruit. The fruit is extremely potent antioxidant powder, which we also put in drinks and things. I think you pay a fortune in Europe or US. But here they're kind of like garbage. They just keep falling down, and you just have to get rid of them.
You're not supposed to touch them. You're not supposed to touch them. So if you build a house, don't. Yeah,
not the tree. The fruits you are allowed to eat, but the actual trees.
The actual tree is holy, and therefore nobody cuts them.
Interesting. Okay. Well, good to know. So let's talk for a minute about your involvement in the community, which is extremely important. And it's one of the things that I love about family run and owned businesses or, you know, operations such as yours. That sounds very official, but because it's not that. You feel like your family when you're there. You really do. I mean, you're welcomed like family, treated like family. And I love that familiarity and comfort of it all. But you are very involved in a important community project. So tell us about that.
So the name Kinondo Kwetu that we have is from Kwetu means ours or home, and Kinondo is the village. So when late Tina, who used to own the initial part of this place, she already had an involvement in the village. So they were used to a relationship with us or with the property. So when we took over from Tina and there were any problems or any concerns that the villagers had, they would automatically come to us, even though of course there are other places they could go. And one of the things is, of course, back then there wasn't a lot of transport and a lot of people were sick, and people usually are sick at night. So our guest jeep was running like an ambulance on a fairly frequent basis until we said, okay, there has to come to a stop. We sat with the elders and they said, we have this property, which is community land. Why don't you build a clinic or something similar? And we had no idea about it, but we thought, okay, that's a great idea. I mean, how hard can it be? It was a bit more challenging than we thought. But now, 20 years later, it's a big operation. So we're a Category 4 hospital, and we have over 120,000 patient visits yearly.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And wonderful, and what a gift for the community, and that just so important for that relationship with everyone. And obviously, in addition to that you do for the entire community, your own staff, I think they feel like family, and I think you treat them like family as well. You really care for them.
Yeah, lots of people have worked a long time, so it's really, and when you live where you also live, where you work, everybody get very close. So
Yes.
it's a good team.
And one must remember also in Kenya or many, the culture is very service-minded, and so it's very easy to work with Kenyans. And the only difference, you have to, of course, teach them what do you people from the US or Europe want, and so on. But that's just a learning curve. But it's very, I would say, it's very pleasant to work, and compared to where we're from, you don't have the work and private life separate. It's all in one. So you can't be here and not be involved.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So, and speaking of being involved, just really quickly, you have how many children?
Three.
Three.
Three girls.
Yeah. And so they're learning about all of this by being there, being raised part-time there. And so, you're teaching the next generation about all of these things as well.
Yeah. Up until 2 years ago, they were fully here in school. And because the oldest one was starting secondary, she's now in school in Europe. But yes, no, they're definitely, the oldest is 100% going to work here when she gets older. So let's see, but so far.
Well, that's great. Well, it is such a special, magical place, and I cannot wait to come back. And I can tell you, I won't be making any trips to Kenya without coming to visit. So. Oh, absolutely. Thank you for being with me today. I really appreciate it. And we'll get the word out and send some more people over there.
Thank you for your kind words.
Absolutely. Okay, thanks. Well, you all have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you. You have a good day.
All right. Bye. All right, so that was my first attempt at doing this, playing my recording from earlier today at the appointed hour of a Thursday at 4 o'clock, although it was a little late getting started today because it was the first time I'd done that. So I will look forward to seeing you next week, Thursday, 4 o'clock, hopefully on time. And I'm not sure exactly yet who my guest next week is going to be. We've got a couple thoughts, a couple people in the waiting in the wings, I guess. So we'll see. It'll be a surprise. Look forward to seeing you then. Thanks.